New ledger? No, I haven't. They should be giving those ledgers away here. You would think they could do a little bit of cross branding there, but no. They didn't even feed us lunch.
Wow.
Yeah.
There he
Hey,
is.
Coach. Okay, well, let's get this party started. So I have let me paste the link here to the note sheet, although it's also in Telegram. And yeah, we can just, does anyone have well, let's just start with updates, I guess, as we usually do. So, do you have any updates on legal?
Yeah, I'm working on the contracts, so we have everyone that is sort of receiving money or is an advisor or anybody that's involved somehow, and we need a sort of a contractual agreement with this person. I'm working on those. They have different perspectives because we have different types of collaboration. And I thought it was easier, but I read through the documents I have, and I have to make some amendments that I didn't realize. So it's hopefully tomorrow I have them done, but it's maybe Thursday even.
Cool. Okay, narrative pitch for funding round. I can say that I think the overview still needs to get the token engineering commons and the updates that are happening this week integrated. Basically, I already announced it in the Telegram group, but after consulting with Coach B, Zargum, and Trent, and taking in the previous ideas from Eden and Simon as well, we're going to go with this launching several different commons. So we're going to end up launching about 3 to 4 tokens. And I want to give like some space for a feedback round on that idea or questions about that idea later on if there's any questions about it. But that needs to get integrated in, as well as getting the roadmap around like financial stuff in. That's the big thing. And so the financial stuff, update on that. There's just a big. I have all the major pieces settled, and I have like kind of a roadmap from Argon Black, who do the token bonding curve quote, Level K, who gave me a conviction voting quote, and Zargum, who gave me the block science quotes for the design and the thing. Coach B and I outlined all of the financial projections for us as a team as well. So we just need to kind of go around and confirm that is correct. But we're pretty much there, and so there's no blockers. What about website? Anyone got any updates on that? Chris, maybe?
Well, the website is a little bit on hold until we have the final logo, which is one of the points on the agenda. And we were also waiting for confirmation on who are the final advisors, because we were still going to see trends. And I think as soon as the list of advisors is complete, as soon as we have decided on the logo, we can update and finalize the website.
Okay. Advisors, we have Trent on. There's still open questions with Sherman, Jamie from A to Z. Sorry, Jesse Walden from A to Z. I reached out to Michelle from P2P, and I'm thinking about asking Luke as well from Aragon, as Luis and Jorge said they didn't have the bandwidth for it. How about updates on POC implementation?
Yeah, for the POC, so we're at the point that we can, so we have a faucet integrated for the so-called testnet on the app. So I think, yeah, somewhere this week probably we might be able to do our first transactions on the testnet. So Pavle has been working a little bit on the contract side, but I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him to see what the state there is. For the front end, we listed up, so I just also went on a call together with Will, and we now have really a whole list of issues created. And if we have all those things covered, then we should be able to deploy a new curve, exchange these tokens, and then do actual voting. So that's the three things we want to get working for the Genesis edition. And so it goes up to there. So once you have that voting in place and you're crossing your thresholds, then there's a button like assign funds to this issue. But if you click that, it will just say this is for a future version. So that's where we are right now. So you can have a look at the boards. Maybe I'll paste the link also in the document.
Awesome. Do
Right
you
here.
would you say so? You think the issue list is complete at this point?
I think for the functionalities of the Genesis implementation, I think it is.
Nice.
Yeah, but then after that we should see what the next batch of features is that we want to add.
Well,
I think it's
definitely-
complete right now.
Let's try to schedule something this week so I can go through it and you and I can assign number values to each of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. So now we can dive into the agenda. I just wanted to see if there's any feedback on the idea of launching 3 to 4 tokens. This is kind of the last time to give negative feedback on the idea. So to prevent us from doing it, because it seems like it's a go on all sides. And if anyone has any more detailed questions that they want to know, I'm sure not everyone's totally informed on the plan.
Yeah, maybe for me, what would be the best way to sort of read up on that, or how that conclusion came to be? Or...
Yeah, so I can kind of give an overview, because I don't think you, Spanne, or Chris kind of got the breakdown of why this is happening. But basically, Trent was very persistent on the idea of don't try to launch everything at once. Try to launch just the token bonding curve and keep everything else easy and see how that works. And then try to launch another module with the token bonding curve, see how that works. Try to launch all 3 modules at the end, see how that works, and kind of take a field test approach. He made a great analogy with the Wright brothers and how they design the planes and stuff. Laura could talk about that a little bit, because the Wright brothers actually stole her uncle's work. But anyway, so there's Zargham and I kind of talked about it, about doing these as an actual field test. And basically he was the original idea was, let's just start with the token engineering commons with just a token bonding curve, a crappy DAO, and da-da-da. And he's like, hell no, I will not put anything behind that. I wouldn't feel good about that. That's garbage, right? And so, well, as a field test, though, he agrees it's a great idea. So what we'll do, instead of calling it the token engineering commons, we will let the whitelist members actually decide what commons initiative, what focus we want the first field test to be on. And
so I don't sound like an asshole here. You mind if I do a summary of this? Because I was kind of put my foot down a lot, and I admit, I know that I was kind of dickish in some ways, but I want to clarify it.
Yeah, I think we got a great result though. So
yeah, no, and I want to said that I was like, wow, I sound like a dick. So I wanted to just step in and say basically this is our goal is to create a sustainable commons. And the branding and the messaging and the narrative is all about that. And so I also agree very much with Trent, because we actually he and I talked also. And the point here is that to achieve that end, we need to incrementally build and test components and compose them, and which is totally right. And to field test them, the term basically, we have to actually launch them live net if we really want them to be in the field and see what happens and not just theorize about them. And so what way that I described what Griff was saying is that we can take the existing components that, although they have weaknesses, are understood, the existing DAO things that are like even just in Aragon, and we attach a bonding curve to them. Like, we can have a Genesis Commons. It's just that that's not a sustainable thing, precisely because the bonding curve is actually just an interface. It's a really powerful component, but we essentially have a grayed out decision-making process and a grayed out value production process, and like, an actual value thing that produces something of value, and we can decide what to substitute based on what's available. And all of our focus is the reference architecture and reference implementation of the bonding curve, and launching it and testing it live, which means there's a token. And to be clear, that's a fine thing to release. It's just that we have to make a really hard separation. That is not the sustainable thing that we've been narrativing about. That is a part that's being tested in the wild. And that we can level up again by adding more and launching another thing that incorporates largely the GiveEth functionality. Was the idea was the next step, and that we could actually launch something that was effectively the DAC that's already been branded, because it's the combination of the bonding curve and GiveEth with some existing decision-making components, but it's still a kind of one-way thing. So we haven't achieved the sustainable regenerative properties that the sort of token engineering commons needs to have. So we're still field testing something. It's a the reason I like the DAC branding is because it's saying that this is still essentially a charity deliverable. It is a thing for giving funds to charity. It's a one-way process. And then when you finally close the loop with the last component, that's the point when I would be comfortable saying that we've sort of realized our, the minimum viable whole commons. So when we add the conviction voting and we get this sort of sustainable regenerative thing, and there'll be some drawings that are going to come with some of Abby's work that sort of explain this concept in more detail. But, I'm basically saying that the design requirements for the commons is this sort of regenerative evergreen thing. And we'd screw ourselves over a bit if we delivered something that didn't have those properties, and we didn't carefully construct the narrative to describe this, rigorous engineering process where we deliver things and test them and iterate on them. But it's not really the commons that we want until we get to the third thing. And then we're going to need to iterate it further and learn things. And obviously, there's who knows where we go specifically from there. But even just hitting our first real goal, that regenerative, sustainable commons thing, is actually the third deliverable, not the first or the second. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Lorelai, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, so I think that sounds super smart in general, business plan wise, and just more room for success, and giving trust to people who want to support us. My only concern is does this plan change the amount that we are trying to raise at at any given time, or at this initial point?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think I'm working through it right now. I'm not completely done, but I think that we'll end up with 3 or 4 commons, because Zargam wants to do just 3, but I would push for a field test for conviction voting as well. But honestly, I would also be open to just letting the whitelist group decide if they want to call the third commons a token engineering commons, or if they want to do it for something else. And then the fourth one is
the 3 is a minimum.
3 is the minimum for sure. And then, it makes it kind of easier on the roadmap side if we have a 4th, because then we can have funding for integrating lessons from that and then launch. But basically, I want to break it up into milestones, the funding tranches that will line up with those deliverables, and then have a cap. And if we hit the cap, then we have all this extra fluff that we can add on top of it. That is really important, but not in the end, if we don't hit the cap, we can fund that extra stuff with the token engineering commons itself. So but the cap is there if we just do too good of job at raising money. But yeah, so I'm going to break it up. Instead of having it be like 1.5 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, whatever, it's just going to be what it is to get there with a decent amount of buffer.
So
Yeah, I think it totally makes sense.
it sounds like it's going to change like the whole plan of the workflow though. Like instead of all the people working like at pretty high capacity, it sounds like it's going to be some of the people working at some of the capacity for like for one commons, and then when you go on to building the next one, it's going to be like a different group of people start. But like I'm just curious because like when we looked at the budget and did the specifics on like how much money is going where, if we raise 1 mil, if we raise 1.5, if we raise 2.5, like the low end of that like looks really bad for like a lot for all of us. Like it's not a happy budget. And so I'm curious, like what's the plan there if we are lowering the budget or lowering the like, yeah, the target that we're trying to reach with the raise, and therefore lowering the budget. Like, are people going to be working less? Are less people going to be working?
I wouldn't say we're lowering the budget. I mean, I think basically we can launch that first commons in much less time. So if we only raise $1 million, then we just do what we need to do to launch that. And ideally, it doesn't take a year. It only takes like, you know, so long, maybe 6 months or something. We'll see. It depends, right? But ideally, so, and then once we launch that, if we had already raised more, then we would have probably already started working on some of that stuff and be pushing through so that the next commons launch can happen pretty quickly after we like reintegrate like feedback from the first one for the token bonding curve. Giveth should already be ready to launch like by then if we have reached that funding goal. And then if we reach the conviction voting goal, which is going to be a lot higher than what it takes to get to the Giveth goal, then we will have started working on conviction voting the second we reach that goal. Because conviction voting is going to take a lot of time, unfortunately. So it is, I would say that it in some ways makes our lives a lot easier for like, oh, well, we haven't reached enough money to do conviction voting, so we're just not going to. We have to hope that we can raise it through some other means. But in some ways, it makes it harder because, yeah, the budgets will be a little bit more fluffy. But in the end,
and also like
there's always a lot of buffer.
Also retaining humans, right? Like that was one of the reasons why we need to like do this raise like as soon as possible. Like, are there going to be people that are necessary for conviction voting who now will have to put off like doing heavy work with them, and then do we lose their like potentially lose their interest? Because I know that was a reason to really get going on the big fundraise.
I don't think that'll be an issue with conviction voting.
I have a question actually, and maybe this will help resolve this. So if, for example, this roadmap goes out, and to be very clear, what we've already roadmapped out in terms of delivering this is, in my opinion as an engineer, far more rigorous than anything I've ever really seen published by a crypto project in terms of how they're going to execute on a large comprehensive project. This is a like program management level engineering design plan, accounting for design, testing, development, etc. It's very possible that the market will be enthusiastic enough about it to fund multiple stages. So I think that breaking it up into stages and delivering it in stages and doing all of what we've talked about with Trent and with others is right. But I also wouldn't stop. Like if there are caps associated with and budgets associated with parts, we can essentially break it out and essentially fill those buckets one at a time. So the first set of milestones has a set of budgets and a raise. If we hit that number and there's still more interest, we literally, you can imagine this as a diagram on a website even, just like the buckets filling up. And when the first one fills up, the new funds start to go into the next one. And we can start driving on any initiative whose bucket is full. And to your point, some of them are longer terms than others. So if we promise to deliver first the first thing, then we have to prioritize it first. But then the next thing is, well, let's start putting funds in the longest bucket. And if there's funds in that bucket, then, you know, maybe we can start that bucket. And you can come up with a strategy for how to you know, explain this to investors and how to represent it so that it creates, you know, excitement. But ultimately, they're not actually deciding to partition the fundraise by deliverables isn't the same as refusing to take more funding.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
for sure.
The other milestones.
I hope we get all the funding before we launch the first comments. I would sort of imagine that to be the case.
So you're still setting the goal for 3 mil before launch of the first token battery.
That would be ideal. I mean, in the end, we won't even start if we don't raise at least 1 mil. So
Okay, so sorry, but my last question related to this topic is actually not sorry. Is that like considering like the psychology of fundraising, like how do we keep people like feeling like this is a really pressing and exciting opportunity when the whole like energy of it has shifted to a slower, like, hey, you still have time to decide sort of thing.
well, that's why we have multipliers based off of how much we raise and how much time it takes. So like you know, the first million, if you put in money to get us to the first million, then you get a 2x multiplier. If you get us to the second million or whatever, then you get a 1.5x. I'm gonna need to break those up and change it a little bit, but we're definitely going to match our maximum so that we can have, I imagine, 4 or 3 multipliers, not 2, 1.5, and 1, but like, I don't know, 2.5, 2, and 1.5, something like that. We'll see. But either way, that's the main push. Is hey, you get a multiplier if you put in money before others.
Okay, cool.
So I didn't expect this to take up so much meaning. Does anyone have other quick questions about this or any objections? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just wanted to say, like, hearing the story, I think it also makes it a more credible approach towards investors, because if you go for like one big thing, there are still so many questions which also become apparent while like sketching out that prototype. Like, oh, what should we put here? How should that work? If you cut it down in different stages, I think it makes it just more credible. So I'm totally for that approach.
Nice. Yeah, and
I think
yeah, go ahead.
Lorelei's points are pretty salient about the excitement, though. So I think that it's still important that we have that whole, like, it's not going forward at all if we don't raise $1 million by a certain point in time. We might be able to say that, like, you know, there's other like bottlenecks, and you know, we won't launch this particular initiative. Let's say the conviction voting stuff is really long term. We will not start that until we've raised blah. Like if we make those buckets, even we can essentially have, you know, urgencies as opposed to the global urgency. So the urgency one is that we get $1 million by this certain date so that the project goes forward. Another one is, you know, to hit this other milestone in fundraising by this date in order to kick off the development of, you know, initiative whatever, which isn't the same date, but it's like, you know, some number of months from now, you see our progress, maybe we're whatever, you want to get people incentivized to hit those raises by points to keep the project on track.
Yeah, hey, I have to keep pushing through to the next topic though, because I know we want to get to the logo. But it's really important that we just outline the showstoppers for us credibly raising funds from people and dish out to-do lists. That's my goal here. And so I kind of outlined the main deliverables. This was from a lot of feedback from Abby about how to achieve this. And so we're going to try something a little different this week. We're going to have these deliverables and pass them out and really focus on these 4 things and see how far we can get in like kind of a weekly sprint. So Abby is taking on the augmented bonding curve hatch numbers. This is basically so that people who want to support us, they know they can kind of guess what their opportunities will be for buying into the future hatch sales for the different Genesis bonding curves. So the goal is to have, or it looks like it's done when we have solid numbers for the price of the token during the hatch, the price of the token after the hatch, and the half-life for vesting. And it will have like some spreadsheets and kind of a small explainer for each of the hatches. And so Abby's taking that on. If anyone wants to help her, definitely reach out to her. Although I think she's excited to just kind of handle it on her own during her traveling time and time zone issues. Although I'm sure she's going to bounce it off Yuzi for sure. There might be some dependencies, but I don't. I think the only dependency is talking to Seed.
And is there a timeline on this task?
Yeah, she's going to show something on Sunday and bounce it off of me on Monday. And all the timeline for all of these things is a week. So next Tuesday, hopefully there's been some kind of iteration with somebody and some explainer on an update on this deliverable.
I already had an initial call with her, and I have a work session tomorrow to go through the Python code to sort it.
Perfect. I do hope that it ends up with an Excel spreadsheet or something that normal people.
It's got to be a CSV export though, because the things are non-linearly coupled. So like coding it up in Excel is unlikely to make sense. So you're going to have to basically run the actual numbers in Python. They will be put in a data frame, which is a spreadsheet basically, and exported. But that means that if you're looking at the numbers in Excel, you're just going to see numbers, not the logics, because the logics are like too non-linearly interconnected to represent directly in Excel.
That's fine, as long as it's viewable by a normal person. That's the main.
We can export it to a CSV, and then you can do whatever you want with it. Actually,
yeah, and maybe graphs or something too, or But anyway,
we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So the next one is actually for Coach B, I think, finalizing KYC. The KYC process is a showstopper, and this looks like it's done once I've been KYC'd and can donate.
Just an update on that. I had a call with Mount Pelerin on Monday, so yesterday, and gave them all our terms and conditions and statutes because they needed to look through the the liability that they have and what we promised, so to speak. And they will come back with a more leaner KYC procedure, hopefully. Because right now it's a regular KYC, but maybe they decide that we don't even need that, and they give us a better KYC approach. So this is for the association right now. It's not for the bonding curve later on.
Yeah, only for the association is the scope for sure. Are there any other dependencies besides Mount Pelerin?
Yeah, it's a tough name. No, that's a good thing. We only work with one partner, and they do everything. So there's no third party involved or anything that they need to consult. It's their decision, and their legal department looks at it right now. And by the end of this week, they said they will give me an answer, hopefully earlier.
And do you need any help?
Then it's 24 hours. It's 24 hours. Then they can set it live for us, so we can integrate it very easily because it's an iframe, and they provide the backend, and we just integrate it. It's just this code. I mean, Max already did that once with the test part. So just replacing the test URL or whatever it is with the live one.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And I don't know that it needs to go on the website, because if it does go on the website, it should be like a secret link or something, because we don't want anyone to feel like we don't want people to we want people to apply before they fill out KYC, because we have to pay for their KYC, right? Is that right, Coach B? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
I only heard half of what you said. Sorry.
Can we have to pay for their KYC? Is that correct?
Yes, so it's between $5 and $20 per KYC or KYC and AML actually, and it could be more expensive if they do more deeper AML checks, which I doubt we have to do right now. This is more important in the phase of the actual token issuing.
Yeah. So what I would say is we probably don't want the KYC form on like the clickable website, but maybe have it be a link somewhere later so that we can give it to the people who we actually want to raise funds from.
Yes, no, exactly. So the process is that we have the Google form that people apply for membership, means they click on a button on the website which says apply for membership, and they come to the form, they fill in the form where they also indicate the amount that they're willing to pay, and this already indicates sort of the depth of the KYC, and then they receive a link. Only those people that we accept at the end, because that's a decision by the board of the association to accept members or decline. When we accept them, then we send them the link to the KYC part, which is in the website, but it's not visible. It's not public.
Perfect. Okay. So then the next deliverable is project milestones outline. So this is basically doing that roadmap that we kind of talked about before, where it's like what milestones, what multipliers. Basically, it's done when we have a clear outline of milestones that we want to hit and deliverables that we'll hit at each funding tranche or whatever it is, and then have it be bullet pointed about like what we will do with the funds, and just match that up. I definitely want to lead it. I'd be happy with assistance if anyone wants to help me with that, especially if someone's at the Giveth office, so we can work in person. But does anyone want to help me with this? It's okay. I definitely can do it on my own. If anyone just wants to like ping me and be like, Griff, what the fuck are you doing? Go get to work. That would be cool.
I'm in on that. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect, Jeff. You were the person I was hoping would work with me on that. Okay, and then website. So I think Max is missing today. Is that right?
Yeah, he said he couldn't come.
So I would love it if somebody who wants to help Max deliver the website. Chris is in on it. So I mean, it's pretty simple. It looks like the website needs to have the logo integrated. It needs to have the form. It needs to list team and advisors, at least the people we have, including legal advisors. And it has to pull some copy out of the overview to explain, but not like not the entire overview or anything, just some words. And
Summary and some links.
yeah, it should just look like a nice website that we are all proud of. And I want to give agency to anybody in this call that if you don't feel proud of this website when they say it's done, please say, wait, we need one more day. Like, it's totally okay, but it will require that you make issues in GitHub, because Max is doing a great job at communicating through that mode, and we need to go match him where he is, because it's a very efficient way to work.
Or you just send a message to me, because I don't want to do for you.
Chris will middleman that as well.
Is there a timing that you say, because that always works, then I can
Yes.
prioritize? When do you want to
All of these things, they need to there will be a progress report on Tuesday, and ideally you will have bounced something off of somebody before then. So everybody find a buddy, bounce it off, like Abby's bouncing off of Z. Coach B, I don't know if you want to bounce off of Lorelei, maybe. Jeff and I are going to work together, but I'll probably bounce this off of Coach B, I'm guessing, or somebody. I'll find somebody. And Chris, I don't know who you want to bounce the website off of, but Jeff and Max, perfect. But like that's kind of that's the strategy for the week, and these are our huge focuses. There are a few other to-do lists that I just want to list, but we got to know that these are not showstoppers. If we don't have this perfect, it's okay. And we could still raise money. Like I could feel confident asking our advisors to put money in without any of these options. And these are what they are. I'll just list them. A more detailed roadmap narrative based off of our project milestones that explains how we're going to launch these tokens with more words and gives it more flavor. A preliminary supplier agreements with everyone, the stuff that Coach B is working on right now, which is important for sure, that we all understand our roles and how much money we're going to make. But in the end, I can raise money without that. But it's very important. Process for setting the whitelist. This is something I was hoping maybe Kai could help me with. But basically just like, okay, when someone donates, we got to actually build a whitelist. That's pretty important. So we can talk about this whitelist, but we don't have any specification for it. We really need that. And then, of course, all the stuff you're doing, Spunnet, with the proof of concept on the front end, the proof of concept with the smart contracts. Really cool. Will definitely help us raise a lot more money than without it. So it's very important, but it doesn't stop us from getting from the advisors. And then, of course, the 2 articles that are in progress, the conviction voting article that Jeff is working on and the cyber physical comments article that Abby's working on. Maybe there's more on here and I just want to leave like a minute for people to say other nice to have to-do list items that we should capture really quick.
I will publish the article, the great article that Kai wrote.
You're gonna have to say that louder next time, but I got it. So Kai's article. Anybody else have
There's going to be pretty soon an article that Jonathan and I are writing that's going to introduce CAD-CAD. It's going to be on the block science side, but I think it'll be a good thing to point to. We already have drafts and we're revising. Second question, Spunnet and maybe others. I am actually not that far away from having what is essentially an emulation of a CAD-CAD emulation. So not a module, but a first working module of the system that we want to build towards. So if someone who's doing front-end mock-ups wants to try to make a meeting with me, maybe Friday, I would like to talk about what it might look like for us to actually have a CAD-CAD backed, actually like emulation of the commons with the conviction vote, with everything in it. Because I wrote the conviction voting module, like not module, model, like a working CAD-CAD model of it last weekend. And that's the hardest part. So actually wiring together with another weekend, I could potentially write. It's not the deliverables for the project because that's a lot of other work to turn it into deliverables, but something you could wrap into a microservice and put behind a visualization to show people, make this thing tangible, is coming into focus. And I don't know where that belongs on the time frame, but I'm talking like weeks of work, not months. So I want to know who to talk to, and you can reach out to me offline. But we've also already got microsurface mock-ups where we put the CAD-CAD in a model behind a front end for a client. So we've pretty much figured out all the parts. We just need to find the right people to work with to maybe make this a thing. But I think it would like crush anything else that's out there if we could show like again, it's the model, not the thing, but it would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Spunnet and Z, maybe you guys can connect offline. But I definitely want to, unless anyone has anything else, if you do, just write it, type it in the nice to have to-do list, please, on the document. But because I want to make sure we have 15 minutes left to talk logo.
So is that
Yep.
my slot now? Okay, cool, great. So did I put the newest document of our logo options into the Telegram group? It'd be great if you guys want to follow along there. But I'll just share my screen really quickly. So if you can't pull up the document, you can follow along with me. I asked for, after our last meeting on Friday, there weren't a lot of people in the meeting, but I got feedback and a consent round to move forward with the flame/seed/plant, and then asked for like iterations of this logo to nudge it in the direction of each of the shapes that we all kind of saw. So we've got 5 shapes here, and seed shape, the flame form, the egg form, the water droplet form, and the plant form. So first I'm gonna have you guys give like feedback on the shapes. Like I'll go around and you can say in general, like which one's your favorite, and like, you know, quickly any important comments about shape, and I will record which was the favorite from there, and then we'll do a consent round just to hear if there's any objections to moving forward with that shape. And then we can look at fonts together. Oh yeah, and color too. So I guess we'll do that with color and with font. And I think with fonts, we won't necessarily like get a solid one out of today. They didn't give us a whole lot of options, but let's remember to keep it short, and I'm gonna pass it to, let's see, Chris, I know you have your feedback already organized, and I wanna hear just your favorite one. Please clearly tell me that first. And then I'll like anything quick else that you need to say, and then we'll pass it to someone else.
Okay, sorry. That was not strategically well to start eating chocolate.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's my mistake. Okay, here I go. So my big preference goes to the egg form. Oh, is it not working? Can you guys hear me?
No, I just
Yeah, you're good.
hear them if they talk.
Oh, okay. My preference is for the egg form. I think this is an improvement. So it still strongly reminds me of the flame, which is energy, revolution, power, but it brings some extra things to the table. So to me, like an egg, you know, it's also an explanation in some ways. But I was immediately thinking of fertility, of new beginnings, of community, and I think it's also more embracing and inviting. The fact that it's rounder, it makes it less, you know, pointy, prickly, which brings more robustness, more solidness, anti-fragility. So to me, it's softer but stronger, and so for that reason, I think it's more trustworthy, and which we need for this project specifically. So that's my feedback on the form, on the shape.
And before you pass it to someone else, I just want to say also that like the initial one is an option. So if you want to say that the one we got last week was your favorite, that's okay. Sponnet, do you want to feedback?
Yeah, I think I also like the egg the best. I think hatching an egg makes some sense in this context, maybe. Yeah. Other than that, for me, I don't have any strong preference towards any form, but I think the egg makes a lot of sense. So.
Yeah. Great. You want to pass it?
Yeah, sure. Jeff, go ahead.
I think first choice for me still the seed, and that mostly comes from conversations about kind of building a forest of trees, each tree being an individual commons. So I'm still partial to the seed. I also am. I would say the egg is probably second favorite. I mean, we talk a lot about hatching. We're hatching commons. We have hatch phases, initiation phases. So I like the egg as well. I also like the plant, I think it's called, or the one on the far left when they're all listed out, like or the frame maybe. But definitely leaning towards seed first, egg second, and plant third, I would say. And colors, okay, I think my favorite is the initial, the initial green blue. And pass it to Z.
All right. I think I'm gonna go with the seed. I'm having a hard time. They're all pretty great. I really liked the comments that were made at the beginning in favor of the egg, and I think a lot of them still apply to the seed. So I'm gonna go with seed, and then I'm actually very strongly in favor of the original blue-green. What Jeff mentioned, I actually think that that color coding is really on point.
Will you pass it to somebody?
I will pass it to you. You haven't gone yet?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So I definitely like out of these shapes, I would choose the egg. I think that all of the other ones are a little too wacky and unrecognizable, and already the other elements of this logo are wacky, and like it's great. I love that, but I think we're retaining enough of that. I really liked the original shape that we got last week, but I would go with this egg, I think. And I think it's more professional and more recognizable. Colors, yes, I'm on board with the same colors. And I will pass it to Kai.
Wow, so such a cool logo. Any way we choose, I guess. It's interesting, the egg thing. I think I tend toward the one. It's funny. The fire is just the egg without this last bit in the upper right, which kind of distracts me in the egg, I guess. So I would go with fire, which also looks like a drop or wind, or I think many associations can be made here. I won't oppose anything. Like if we vote for egg, that's fine. I really like all of them. Yeah, I feel the same as you with the colors. Like the original color scheme is very nice. And who has not gone yet? Coach B?
Yeah, I haven't gone. I actually like I like the egg too. My second choice would have been the droplet, but man, the designer really hated the droplet. Like their description for the droplet was really bad. Like it seems like it could mean something small and meaningless. So maybe not the droplet. I generally like the egg. I'm a little and my second choice would be the flame, I guess. And for colors, yeah, it seems to be unanimous. The original colors were solid. If there was a second runner-up, I kind of like the teal purple, the turquoise purple. Does anyone else did Spawn go?
Coach B. Coach B.
I can just give my last 5 cents to it. So I was in favor of the flame, but now it's really, as Kai says, it's the flame, but more closed at the top. So I really like it now because it's more symmetric. And I'd go for the original colors that we had. I like those most. We might even use other colors for different topics, maybe even the Genesis might, or no, it's a common stack. So I don't know. Maybe we use some colors for different stages, you know. But there's also one thing about the typo we haven't talked about. So I'm in favor of typo version 7 document as well.
The typo?
So that's just an addition. The font.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to do like a different round on font because I feel like it's kind of a lot to hold in the brain. Thank you, guys. So, okay, before we move on to font, I'm just gonna count up here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 for egg, and egg has a lot of second favorites as well. And then it looks like flame had 2. Oh, Coach B is changing. I'm hearing that egg is kind of has the most like weight behind it between first and second choices. And let's do just a objection round. Are there any objections to that? Am I wrong? Am I seeing with
yeah.
Can I?
No, I think I agree. When I said seed, I meant flame. I meant like the original one that we had. I don't think that changes. I think egg still seem to have more support. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I was for the original one when I said seed.
The original shape. Okay.
I wanted to say out loud something I just said in the chat, which I just like based on what Coach B said. I had this notion that if the egg is the main logo, then the individual commons can have a lot of brand recognition, but you can use the flame or the seed or the whatever as the logo for the Genesis commons or the whatever. Like at least early on, you could have some like. Not that we have to go down that pathway now, but like the egg is hatching into other things. And so if you want to end up later having more than one thing and have it not be confusing, the brand image for the common stack is the egg, and it hatches things that have some similar character or recognizable as part of the same brand, but are also visually distinct.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Anyone object to moving forward with the egg as the main logo? Okay, cool. Can we talk fonts for a couple minutes in the end of this call?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm just gonna put this out there that and do you guys need me to screen share again?
No.
Okay, cool. So for me, I really think that version 1 and version 10 are like the only ones to consider. All the other ones seem like sort of ridiculous to me, and I wasn't super happy with the font choices. So maybe more rounds on that, but yeah, like I'd love to hear people's font feedback. And version 1 is the one that we were already working with last time.
Yeah, I would just say that she needs to come back with other font options, because I would agree that these suck. And also it'd be nice to have it next to the logo that we're actually picking.
We needed the logo, so I would say doing the font round, 2 things I would say to them. One is that since we picked the egg, that has a lot of implications on what fonts make sense, because the rounder, fuller ones all make a lot more sense now. And 2, what you said, putting them next to the egg. But I think you will want to ask generally for rounder, fuller fonts, because those are the ones that actually feel right with the logo and for the project, for the same reasons the logo feels right.
Right.
For
I
me,
would also like to add maybe that because the text is pretty long to put in a logo, so the smaller the font would be, or so I would also go for like a fat rounded font, because if you want to put it somewhere like in a corner, the logo with the text included, it will tend to be very small or very skinny if the font isn't thick enough. That's what I think about it.
what do you think about the font that's what was used for the actual the logo round?
What are you referring to, Kai?
Yeah, just the font that was used for the other logos, like for the logo rounds.
Like the one for the shapes, that's like the one that...
Yeah, so my
like
feedback would be, I like that more than all of the choices, because for what you said, it's very very true. You need something round, and there is mostly blocky stuff there.
That is V1, I think.
I actually like the font that they use in the text themselves. I like their own font very much.
Okay, cool. So I'm hearing that we need some more font options. We need them to be next to the seed and maybe looking at what it's like wrapped around the seed. Well, not like around, but, or sorry, not egg, not seed, egg. And let's just hear if there's any objections to the original color scheme. No.
Nope.
Great. Yeah, I feel like I can move forward with the design team now. Thank you guys very much. And
quick question about font alignment. I'm curious if anyone thinks that, I'm just wondering if like the commons stack, if we want some kind of like balance or alignment, or are people happy with how the words look? I didn't really get to that until I started looking at different fonts and wondered, you know, the is kind of like a third, and then the stack is kind of like towards the end. I'm not sure if that's anything that anyone else noticed or.
Yeah, I was actually also thinking about that. If you give feedback to them, Lorelei, and we're gonna work on the fonts anyways, maybe if they have time or if there's budget to work on this, this would be a second thing that maybe they could make some variations on how exactly they, with this chosen shape, they want to place the and the comments in the stack, like how it works together. And also, if they could possibly think how we would implement a logo in if you have a more vertical form factor.
Yeah.
Chris, can you just send me both of those questions because I wasn't able to hear you that well.
Okay, I'll send it to you now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I believe that people know what their deliverables are. If anyone, I'm gonna stay on this call afterwards if anyone has any other questions about their action steps, because I wanna skip the action steps and let everyone go about their day because we're done with this meeting. But if you don't know what you're doing this week, I'll stay on for another 15 minutes. So thank you guys, great meeting, very productive.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Coach B.
I didn't dare to speak before because it was also fast because I have such small action items, but or possible ones. So I can help you, Griff, for your whitelist, but you have to explain more what you need. I'm also down to help on the website, of course. One of the things, so we should add stuff that builds trust, and you found this module by Aragon that's exposing how their multi-sig is, like who's on their multi-sig and current funds, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to like take this officially. So the DNS is administered by you now, and do you want me to join you in adminning that thing?
Okay, that'd be cool. Can I just because I know what you're awesome at, can I put a higher priority for you? I would just propose setting up the whitelist itself and working with me a little on that, and like because basically it's just a list of addresses and a number, but we have to like kind of write a script or something that can, you know, read events or do something along those lines. And I feel like it's really close to address, basically. You know, the whitelist could almost be an address implementation. Of course, it probably should also just be on the, like something, it should probably just be something in like a GitHub list too, but it'd be kind of fun to have a leaderboard version basically of the whitelist.
All right, so I think that might be a bit heavy. So let's get Sponnet in the mix as well, and maybe find somebody. But I definitely need still more requirements from you. But we don't have to do it now on this call. But next, like
Yeah,
if
I mean, I would just say it's a much higher priority than how we spend money, because we're not going to spend money until we raise money.
course.
And then the website for sure. Like, if you want to just dive into the website, like,
I wanted to give you guys an idea I just saw, which I liked very much. If you want, so this is like, I hope you see it. This is Akasha's website. We all know Akasha, maybe or maybe not. It's a social network on Ethereum, or building one, the master of all networks. So this is how it loads, and it's interesting because it's all just a roadmap, and we are here, and because they have lots of history, this is like their history, and this is mostly their blog posts, but basically they put any kind of media here in like chronological order, and their future roadmap was, how was it? I don't know why, where I saw this, but it was some, maybe there was a different point. Maybe they changed the website. When I saw it, it was like you were in the middle, and you could go like in the future, and that was the roadmap, and you could go down, and that was the history of the project. And I liked it very much because roadmaps are great, and if you can make.
did you kick him out?
Yeah, I was sick of hearing about his opinions on the website.
Could be built.
There. He's back.
I'm back.
Sorry. I think that'd be really cool. I mean, having the roadmap on our website will be really important. That's what people want to see. They want to know what we're going to spend money on, and so yeah, having a sexy roadmap would be incredible.
Yeah, and Kai, for the website, actually, I just wanted to tell you, I did make a little bit of like a logic and a proposal of everything that we could put on the website. But Max pushed back there a little bit because for now he preferred to keep it as simple as possible. And right now he is using a platform that he has also used for the Aragon DAC website. But I would say, like, if you feel free to discuss with Max, of course. Like, if you want to put it on another tag,
Yeah, I definitely think that it's not going to stop us from raising money from the advisors in the end. We just need to integrate the logo and the bare minimum to this week, at least this week.
Yeah, I think this is just the first version of the website, and in the future we can build an entire website from scratch when we're further along in the process.
Like when we have money or something.
Yeah, for that.
Cool. So I would say, Kai, your best bet is kind of playing with a whitelist, and it doesn't have to be a full Adrath implementation. It could just be some script that's pulling off the events from a multi-sig, because that's what we'll raise funds with, and website stuff.
But
and then,
what does it do? Or because we could see, like, for what stage is it? So we run already, and like people interact with the smart contract, and you want to like do what with those events?
Basically just kick out a list. So like when somebody, the requirements would be that if someone donates, their address goes in this list, and the amount that they donated times whatever multiplier applies goes in that list, and that's it. And then if they donate again, the new multiplier is applied to the amount that they donated, and it's added to that list, so it doesn't show up as two lines.
So you need a leaderboard. True. Okay.
Yeah, it's effectively a leaderboard, and since you've spent so much time making so many versions of that, it just seems like your jam. Okay, there's still people here. Z, did you have something?
I was just gonna. I think the people are gone, and I shot some messages to SpawnNet, but I'm actually pretty serious about how ridiculously powerful our emulation capabilities are. Like I a lot of time on that mock-up. I say mock-up, like it's a running model. There's a really big difference between a first working model and the actual work through it to make the real things. But the thing is that the first working models are incredible storytelling agents. And so what I'm trying to say is that I pumped energy into that conviction voting thing because that was the hardest part by far, and I already got that working. So I can do whatever I need to do to like make sure that the other parts of the system are representative, but they're already pretty it's already got a funding allocation storyline in it, essentially, where things get funded and then finished. And so all I would have to do is go back and integrate with the with some logic to represent the bonding curve instead of what's there now, which is just like naive, whatever. Point is, I have the ability to get an emulation into production on a website in a relatively short order. I just need to know, and like we have to know where that is on the priorities and who the other people are involved, because the best I can probably get you is that, well, pretty quickly I could get it Dockerized and in a microservice with one of my team members, because we've already done that for a client. So a point is we could have a clear-cut API to make calls to a model that would return the results of the model, which are literally the simulation of the system.
I would much rather have it connected to CAD than to smart contracts, because whatever smart contracts we have is going to be buggy as shit, and extra work on doing Web3.js and all that is probably going to be extra work doing CAD. But being able to show off CAD is also part. I would say that it is a lower priority than that CAD article, though.
The CAD article is already basically done. We're editing it. This is a different completely class of work. And I'm not gonna do this.
As long as there's no like, I agree that different class of work, but as long as you're clear that we have to like that art.
One of those things, let me just be very clear. I only actually get to work on real CAD models on my weekends because it's time consuming, involved, step into it all the way, context shift work. So I'm working on articles here and there. Like I have a printed out copy of it, marked up version open, and we're going to get it done. And it'll come out as fast as Jonathan and I can approve it. Like we're just back and forth because I'm a little more technical. He's a little more businessy, and it's a little bit of tension, and we're trying to find a balance point. But it'll go out quite soon. Like in days. So it's going to be an article introducing CAD before the end of this week-long sprint for sure. But what I'm saying is that this is a longer term task that's going to require multiple steps. So I wanted to talk about it because it will just, if I spend another weekend refining it to get a bonding curve representation in it, it will effectively be a first draft emulation of the system that we're designing for. It certainly wouldn't be the engineering grade experiments. It's not that well documented, but it will be perfect for wrapping in a microservice and making pretty pictures and telling stories.
Yeah.
And so
I think it would be better than anything we would produce with smart contracts. So I will fight for this when we go through the GitHub issues and with SpawnNet and Will, and I can go and talk about.
So let's just make that the plan, and I will find out. I will find out when I can get the bonding curve part layered into that. I'm basically gonna have to fork that conviction voting one that I sent you guys and showed you, and then change a couple of the subsections to have the bonding curve representation. But at that point, if I tune it a little bit, I'll be able to tune it into a storytelling version, which can just basically run as the back end to what is effectively like, hey, look at how this system really works, but like actually the system model of the system, not the prototypes of the digital twin, essentially. I mean, I struggle a little bit because I want to be really careful with the difference between the deliverable models and the like emulations that are great for storytelling, because they're different. Like they're different, but they're also, that's where you start anyway. You got to get something running before you can make it robust.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, no, that sounds great, man. I'm all in. I will have a meeting with SpawnNet later this week. Obviously, ping him and see if you can cut me out of the picture. But
As long as we get priorities aligned and the right people wired to each other, it'll be fine. I just wanted to set expectations at this level. Like, hey, like I did a bunch of work, and it wasn't just like jumping ahead. It's because the things that I'm doing, I think, are valuable narratively very soon, even if they end up getting tabled for a really long time before we can come back to them and refine them in a robust way.
Yeah, and I imagine that Jeff will have a lot of fun with that conviction voting work that you have already.
We're gonna talk about that. We'll demo it and stuff. We have a meeting tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, Griff's in on that too.
Cool. So we'll talk about that more then, and it might help motivate what I'm suggesting. But at the team level, I thought it was important for me to say, look, I'm trying to get you something. We can stick it in a microservice and put it in front ends and impress the fuck out of people.
Hell yeah.
Got to leverage the things that we can do that no one else can do to make our point really, really strongly.
And just people don't understand the power of CAD/CAD, you know, and I think the more we can integrate CAD/CAD into this, the better.
The only thing I hesitate is the more impressive stuff we can show people with zero funding makes me worry that people will be like, oh, well, you obviously don't need much if you've got all this already and you don't even have funding.
I mean, we probably won't be bragging about not having funding so much.
We're going to talk about how much we put our own money into this, and that if you want it to continue, we need yours. Because to be very clear, anything that we pull off with CAD/CAD is, you know, thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of sunk time on my team's front. So I don't think that I think the answer is we bootstrapped the fuck out of this and we're at the end of our ropes. But if you think this is impressive, give us money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think we're going to have those kind of problems. I think we'll build a good model.
I don't think so either, but that's to Jeff's point, like if that criticism rises, it's a really easy counter. We did this with all of our own money and you want to accelerate these capabilities, like, you know, get involved, give us money.
Yeah. Is there, Jeff, did you have something for me?
Nope, just making some notes here on what we've been chatting about.
Yeah, just hanging out. Well, cool. Z, did you have anything else?
No, I just wanted to stay on and have that conversation, so I'm good now.
Nice. Yeah, cool. I'm in a room that it started out as a party, and now all I hear is my echo, and I'm a little scared that I might be locked in. So that we are locked in. I'm crafty. I will get out of this building. Okay? Don't worry. But I should probably go downstairs before I have to break a window. So
yeah, it looks like all the lights are off too. You guys should get out of there.
Yeah, sure.
See you later.
But yeah, see you guys.
See you guys.
See you guys.